everybody. We have a new champion reveal, Nidalee. And there's Nico in the art. Before we go into this, there has been a leak of all the cards coming out in this set, and I will let you know I have not looked at them, as that will kind of, I don't know, ruin the surprise and everything. So I think I've seen some of the art. It's just hard to avoid. But I haven't looked it out, and I definitely haven't seen any of the abilities. So I'll still be having blind reviews and first takes, so you don't have to worry about that. But first things first, let's get into this Nidalee thing here. Let me just make sure that the audio's all well and good. Okay, here we go. Whoa, I don't think I need that. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Let's take it from the top. That's a new voice. We saw Ambush yesterday, actually. Basically, for 2 mana, you can play a Ambush unit as a 2/2, but only if there isn't a Ambush ally out already that is currently hidden in a bush, only one bush at a time. And that will generate a spell with a mana cost based on the unit that is currently ambushing. And you play that spell, playing the ambush cost, as it says here, to transform it into its card. So Nidalee, you can play it on turn 4, or you can play it on turn 2 as a 2/2, and then on turn 3, you can level up, or rather not level up, but rather transform it from a bush into Nidalee. And then from there, once Nidalee is on the field, Nidalee needs to see you summon or transform 4 other allies. So Nidalee never counts herself. Even if you were to ambush Nidalee, that isn't going to count, because it is other allies. Let's go ahead and keep going. Alright, so playing Nidalee. Trap. Plug that in. Nidalee's ambush, surprise, quick attack. Alright. Transform their thing, which captures. Mystic shot. Alright, avoid being killed. That was a cool level up. Wow. Okay, so on level up, which isn't too hard to level up, turns into quick attack and overwhelm. Nexus strike, transforming back into Nidalee and create a javelin toss. Transform back into Nidalee, and then you have to transform or play 4 more creatures. Okay, so it's a pretty easy level up, but you do need to kind of like keep playing things, or summoning them rather, or transforming them. So immediately I'm thinking about Nidalee with Gnar. I'm thinking about how Nidalee is a cat and therefore works with the whole pack hunter thing. Which, I mean, that's in Shurima, but most of the other cats are in P and Z, so I could definitely see P and Z with Nidalee. So that's Bandle City, that's Freljord, and that's P and Z. All different ways I can see right away. 6/4 ambush, yeah, very very reminiscent of Gnar actually. All right, transforms back. Javelin. Let's. When I transform, stop all enemy fast spells, slow spells, and skills. And spell shield. Wow. So 2 mana, and then 3 mana to deny, or not just deny, Rite of Negation at burst speed. That's crazy. Wow. Javelin Toss. Deal 4 to an enemy. If there are no enemies when I'm played, I can target the enemy nexus. Nice. Okay. So it's very similar to Lux, kind of. But. Yeah, it's similar to Lux, but it doesn't have the trample. Uh, but Nidalee is a better attacker, is the kind of trade off you're getting here. More ambushers. Seraphine showed up for some reason. Okay, that is not burst speed. It is burst speed to put it on the stack, but then it still is something on the stack that can be interacted with. Okay. Alright, alright, it's not burst speed. False alarm. Wow. Oh. Okay. Yeah, so base Nidalee, not too crazy. 4 mana 5/3 with quick attack. That's not too hard to remove. Level up is pretty easy. There's lots of ways to summon wide. In Shurima, though, definitely less so. Shurima isn't really a go wide. So you kind of want to mix it up with someone else that could do that, which lends credence to Bandle City, I would say. Pack Mother Nidalee. Transform me back into Nidalee. Yep, get that Javelin Toss. Nidalee's Prowl is the champion spell. Give an ally +2/+0, but if you put it on a ambushing unit, it's +2/+2. That's pretty cool. Okay, I like that. The +2/+0 really helps with the quick attack on Nidalee, so that's just good when a Nidalee is out. And then if you have something ambushing, which you probably want to do pretty often. So if you ambush something with Nidalee, you're summoning the brush, the shadow in the brush, and then you're transforming it. So you are getting 2 triggers towards Nidalee every time you're going through the ambush motions. Towering Pyrophant, 6 mana, or you can do 2 mana, then 5 mana. And it's worth noting that the ambush is spell mana. So if you have spell mana lying around, you can pay 2 unit mana and then do the ambush mana to kind of cheat stuff out. Some really interesting stuff there. The Aurora, 3 mana for a 4/2, or 2 mana then 4 mana, so 6 mana to summon 2 of them. That works kind of interestingly with the chameleons, because that means you could have the chameleon into ambushing the Aurora, which would get you 1, 2, that'll get you 4/4/2s with a burst speed spell, and then you attack from there. That's kind of cool. Big Game Typhoon, I believe we saw yesterday. The Bushwhack Trap. When I'm summoned or the first time an ally transforms each round, give the weakest enemy vulnerable. Anything else? Alright, coming out on the 28th. Very cool. Alright. Additionally to this coming out, there is also this kind of neat just audio visualizer, the story thing. We can see Nidalee and Nico, and a whole thing of P and Z coming into Ishtal. Or at the very least into the jungles, not necessarily Ishtal itself. Yeah, so feel free to check that out. But let's go over the actual cards shown today. So Ambush, we've already talked about that. We have Nidalee. Now this is interesting, isn't it? I guess they're the same thing. There's Nidalee's Ambush and Pack Hunter Nidalee's Ambush, because if a Pack Mother Nidalee dies, then when you summon another Nidalee, it would be still a level 2. But if a Pack Mother Nidalee transforms back into Nidalee and then dies, you're going to have a Nidalee in your hand. Yeah. The state of level 1 to level 2 will go back and forth for all of them. And that's why you have a Pack Mother Nidalee, is because you can level up your Nidalee, have your Pack Mother Nidalee die, ambush something, and then, surprise, it's a level 2 Nidalee. Cool. Alright. I think Nidalee looks pretty good. In Shurima, I think you're getting away with some nice stuff there. Quick attack. There's a lot of ways to give things vulnerable, which a unit with quick attack like this would definitely want. Yeah. There's overwhelm. Different ways to give it some different stats. You can definitely protect Nidalee. Shurima has ways to protect your units. Okay. Yeah, I think Nidalee is looking to be in a pretty good spot. Next up, we have the champion spell, Nidalee's Prowl, or you could just run Prowl itself. Going to be really good when you have Shadow in the Brushes. If you don't want to or can't afford to actually ambush, you can just use Prowl to surprise a trade when someone blocks or challenges or tries to kill your unit. Bushwhack Trap is going to be 2 mana. It's going to give things vulnerable first time each round, so having a bunch of ways to transform your units isn't going to give as much, but that gives you a decent amount of board control. You'd probably want to overwrite it rather than keep it for too long, but it's not too bad as a recurring effect. I think the Pyrophant is going to be pretty good. That's a nice... Like, the stat line isn't good enough to be a finisher. It's a little bit underwhelming, honestly, rather than overwhelming. But the fact that you can surprise someone with that ambush, I think is going to be worth it. And Shurima does like Overwhelm, has several ways to kind of make big stat Overwhelm decks work. I think Pyrophant you could definitely see in there. I'm not sure if you're going to see it in a Nidalee deck, just because the cost is so high, and it's kind of overlapping with what Nidalee is already trying to do. So, yeah. I think it's a pretty good card, but I don't think it's going to be seen in a Nidalee deck. The Aurora, I think there's some fun stuff you can do with that, but there's not much else to say about it. 3 mana, 4/2, as always. The stat line on these ambush units, not that great for the cost. But the effect and the surprise and the play around is what's going to be really good. And it's definitely unfortunate when you have an ambush unit that if you ambush it, still dies to the same removal that would have killed the bush. But this one you could pay for in response to removal, and it summons a copy of itself. Yeah. Avenging Vestaya, amazing. That one's going to be a really good one. However, here's the downside. I think people are going to be gassing this one up, saying it's really good, and it is really good. But this is going to be taking up your ambush slot, and you have to keep in mind that ambush units are going to be like you can only have one ambushing unit at a time. And if you have a face down Avenging Vestaya, that means that you can't be doing an Aurora play or a Pyrophant or even like a surprise Nidalee thing. You are going to be waiting to spend 3 mana to stop a fast or slow spell or whatever. Um, so because of that, you're going to be encouraged to use it sooner rather than later. And if you're using it sooner rather than later, you're not using it optimally. It is better to have a Rite of Negation in hand than to have a ambush unit waiting. Yeah. I think a lot of the time you're going to be flipping it in response to removal to make it not die to that removal. And is that the best use of this? It's hard to say. This card gets a lot better. That downside becomes a lot less of a problem when you are not running an ambush deck. And the question becomes, is this worth running not in an ambush deck? And I think so. I think that effect is powerful enough. It's taking up some board presence. I think you'll see people using this for a bit, and you'll play around it. Easiest way to play around it is it's gonna force a Mystic Shot out of you or something like that. It will not force a challenge though. If you were to challenge this unit, it is just going to die. So at most it'll turn into a 3/3 instead of a 2/2, and they are spending 3 mana to get +1/+1 when you challenge it, and then losing that ability to stop stuff anyway. Yeah. I think it's going to be less good than people think, unfortunately. Next up, we have the little code that they. Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about all that stuff and didn't even go to the next slide. Yeah, Aurora Hallucination. We saw these things on the other screen anyway. The Aurora, the Avenging Vestaya, not as good as people are going to think it's going to be. They continue to have little codes, which I have deciphered for you, and we go to this teaser image for what the next thing is going to be. Some kind of 3-eyed cat with bone spikes, bone armor. So we'll probably see a little bit of variety cards, the last bit of Nidalee stuff, and then they'll probably start showing Nico stuff. They've already shown that it's Nico, even outside of leaks. Like it's intended that we know Nico and Nidalee. And my guess is that Nico is gonna be either a World Walker or Bandle City. I could see either one really. I don't know what Nico's gonna do, but Nico's probably going to, you know, do you want your unit to transform into other units? It'll probably have something to do with like some kind of ambush, some ability to temporarily transform into other units, but then you need to always go back because you want the unit to be Nico, not just a champion that is the strongest version of whatever you have lying around. Yeah. So those are all the new cards for today. It was worth it to wait to get all of this. Although there weren't any new cards we didn't see in the video, but you know it's fine. I think it's pretty cool. I really like the ambush mechanic. Nidalee seems to reward you for building an actual ambush deck, and I think that should be pretty fun to pilot. So, looking forward to it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any more. And yeah, you guys have a good one. See you next time.